Hi, today's guest is going to tell you his story about how he started a high-tech company, grew it into a very successful business, but then he experienced some trauma, which resulted in him being homeless on the street for 6 years. I'm going to let him tell you how he ended his homelessness. Hi, we're here today with Mike Santiago. So, Mike, let's start with what's happening to you today.
Well, today is actually my last day here in San Rafael. I mean, it's not the last day I'll be coming here. I mean, I travel back and forth, Northern California and Seattle, but I am moving to Seattle.
Okay, well, let's come back to why you're moving to Seattle. Okay. Can we go back to your, let's get a little bit of information about where you grew up and what was life like you when you were growing up?
Well, I actually grew up in a small town in West Virginia called Parkersburg. And then I came out west. I went to school and all that stuff there. And then when I was 18, I came out west with my parents because they're university workers. They were doctors, and I ended up at UCLA in Los Angeles.
So they're educators?
They're researchers. There were researchers. My father was a surgeon, and my mother was an anesthesiologist. But I ended up in LA, so I went to school at UCLA for 2 years. I quit, took on IT work in Los Angeles. Then I ventured up to Northern California and worked for various companies. One was Computerware in San Rafael. I worked for them for like 3 years in the late 90s. And then I went to work for a company called Morrissey Group in San Francisco, and that was an IT firm, and we did tech support all over San Francisco at that time, and that was around 1999 to 2000. And I was with them for like 14 years. I ended up buying the partner out and started to run the shop myself with my other partner. Well, I got married during that time in 2000, and my wife was a CPA, so she decided to work at the shop full-time as the CFO, and that lasted about 10 years, I think. And we really grew quite a bit. At one time, we had probably 30 or 40 technicians, and we probably grossed, $3-4 million a year. So it was pretty good during the dot-com era, dot-com 1 and dot-com 2, which is great.
So you survived those?
We survived that, yeah. Everyone needs tech support, so, so essentially, she ran the company. All I did was, I got customers. That's what I did. But I do have a technical background. And, she did some wrong things, which caused our company to flounder. And then from there, we lost our contract with Apple. We were the major service provider in Northern California, and that was our bread and butter, and we lost that. At that time, our relationship wasn't that great. So she flew back to Indonesia, where she's from, and she never came back. She took all the money out of the bank, and so
she flew back to Indonesia.
Yeah, she flew back to Indonesia, and then I thought we were okay. She was just visiting her parents because her father was dying of cancer. So she stayed there for a few months, but I didn't know she was siphoning the money out of the accounts. And so it essentially made me penniless. I tried to sell as much stuff as I could of our inventory. I sold, everything from our condo. I had a condo in Oakland, a nice one, at Jack London Square, so I started selling everything there. At that point, I survived probably 2 years. And then I got depressed, and I didn't care anymore. So I was planning on jumping off the bridge. That was my goal. And I must have gone and visited the bridge probably half a dozen times, walked across, a bunch of times. I actually looked at the statistics of, what's my chances of dying if I jumped. And it was actually in the mid-90s, which wasn't good enough for me because I definitely don't want to survive if I jump. So, I mean, that was one of the contributing factors why I didn't. It wasn't 100%, but I knew for a fact that 2 people jump a month. But that's not advertised because they don't want people knowing. Then one evening, I got my Camelback and filled it up with wine. That was the day I was going to do it. And I was drunk enough, I walked up there, and I was on the Marin side, and I must have walked 6 times, back and forth. I finally found a spot. It had concrete on the bottom, so I knew it was gonna do it. And I was on the other side. I was actually on the other side. And this cop came by. He's probably an undercover cop. They were probably watching me for a while, and he talked to me for a little bit. And then for some reason, I just decided not to. And
Did he talk you out of it, or?
Yeah, it took him like 30 minutes. So 20, 30 minutes, he talked me out of it. And I climbed back on the other side. Then they took me to somewhere down at the bottom. And then I ended up at Marin General. And then from there, I was in Marin General a couple times. One time, I was wanting to shoot myself. That was before the bridge. I did have a gun, but they took it.
So besides doing that, like, where were you living at that time?
I was living with a friend. I still had my condo in Oakland. That wasn't foreclosed on for a year and a half. So, and then I was living with kind of like a friend, a girlfriend in San Anselmo. And so I lived there for about a year and a half. And we had a falling out because I ran out of money. So I left, I had my car, I lived in my car for a little bit. And then that's when I ended up at the bridge. So for about a year and a half, I was in San Anselmo.
So you were sleeping in your car?
I slept in my car for about a month. It was kind of like, I really didn't know what to do because I was never in that type of situation before. Being, with no place to live, with no money. I did borrow some money from some friends, which they helped me out, and I still need to pay them back. So I survived probably a few months, borrowing money.
Where were your parents at this time?
Oh, my parents have passed away. And I was kind of proud. I do have a couple sisters that maybe I would have called them, but I didn't. I just didn't care. So I ended up in a mental hospital in Sacramento for about 30 days. And then they released me here in Marin County. And I stayed someplace in Ross. I forgot what it was called, but it was like a stepping stone to finding your own place or getting a job and whatnot. And
did the hospital facilitate the transition to Ross?
Yeah, they did.
They just didn't drop you out?
They didn't drop me off. They set up everything. I was at the place in Ross for 30 days. It was kind of like an outpatient kind of thing. So I had a place to sleep and things like that. And then when my 30 days was up, I just had to leave. So I ended up on the streets of San Rafael, totally lost.
So there was no transition there. They just said you're 30 days.
Yeah, my 30 days are up and you have to go.
Did you still have your car?
No, that was towed away and repossessed. So that was gone. I had, a couple bikes, that was gone too. Essentially, I lost everything. So I ended up, I don't know how I ended up in San Rafael, but I ended up in San Rafael.
So that first day when you left the transition facility in Ross, did you walk someplace, or could you describe that?
I walked everywhere. In San Rafael, I just didn't know what to do. I was heavily medicated too at the time, so I kind of forgot. I wasn't sharp at that time.
And what did you do the first night?
The first night, I slept at the church up here, on the doorway of the church. So, I had nothing. I just had what I had on my back. And then finally, I started learning how to become homeless. It's really odd, but you can learn to become homeless. And I became friends with some homeless people, and they kind of showed me the way. I knew where to get clothes. I knew where to get a sleeping bag. I knew where to eat. I knew where to take showers. So essentially, I lived that life.
And you were doing that all in San Rafael at that time.
All in San Rafael, yeah.
And then what's the next? What happens next?
Well, I slept like that for probably a couple years. Last year was probably, no, 2 years ago was the worst year because of the heavy rains. I slept on the store doorways, but then the police, ran us out of there. And then I did this thing called the REST program.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
I did that one season. And then after that, I joined Downtown Streets team. Some guy I knew said, you should join Downtown Streets team. And then I was asking him, what does it do? And, what do you guys do? You clean stuff, you clean the streets. And that's manual labor. I mean, that's something I really didn't know what to do.
Before you go into that, I can interrupt you. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to that period of time when you were living on the streets, sleeping in doorways.
Okay.
So what was it? Can you describe a typical day?
A typical day would be to wake up in the morning, go to Ritter Center. I would catch a shower, and then I would go to the food pantry and see if, what they have for the day to give out, like a sandwich or something. So I'd grab a sandwich there. So that's one meal. Sometimes I would go to Vinny's, St. Vincent's, and have breakfast and lunch there. I did that quite a few times. So that's where I got my food.
And then what about your community? Did you have a support group? You had friends?
Well, I was going to a place in the... I was seeing a psychologist every other day. That was through, I think, whatever my insurance was at the time, CalMed or whatever it was called. I was going there. And then there was another place in the canal, I forgot what it was called, the Enterprise over there. And I was seeing someone there too. So that's my support group. But then my main support group were all the homeless people. We became friends.
And what were they like?
I just got used to being friends with them, and you just get used to it. I got used to being homeless, which was really dangerous.
And how did your background, compared to the people you were hanging out with, did they have similar backgrounds?
No, they didn't. Most of the people I hung out with are, career homeless people. I mean, they've been homeless for years. One man is, I think he was in his 70s, and he's been homeless for I think 15 years. Nice guy. He gets his pension, but he just doesn't want to leave the homeless life.
And you were accepted? Did you have any problem with coming from the background you came from?
No, not really. I mean, I kept quiet. I mean, I was a quiet type of guy. I mean, I didn't look like this now. I mean, I really did look homeless. So they took me in. This one guy, the older guy, took me in and showed me the way. I mean, he's my saving. He saved me.
So you looked after each other.
Yeah, we did. We camped out together. We went to Starbucks together. We did everything together. So we looked, for one another.
So were you getting any like SSI or anything like that?
No, I actually refused to do that. I just didn't want to do it.
Sure.
I didn't want to get that. I didn't want to get GA. I think that's what it's called, General Assistance. So I just lived on what I could get without being a burden to society. I just did not want to be a burden to society, other than sleep on storefronts. I mean, that was my burden. And then going to Vinny's and Ritter, I know that's, public money too, but, it was there, so I used it. Mm-hmm. But my only source of income was, when I volunteered.
And the volunteering was with?
With Downtown Streets team. So I just decided to try it one day and went to the meeting, and it was really intriguing because I thought at first I thought it was kind of like a cult. It had that kind of atmosphere, but then when I joined, it was the friendship was so strong, and the leadership was so great. It made me want to come in every day, and this is just sweep streets.
All right, I'm going to launch right into the meeting before I tear up. There will be a few of those, like, as I've promised over the last few weeks. And so welcome everyone to our Wednesday meeting. As you guys might know, we run a work experience team here in San Jose, where we're in the community, beautifying the gateways, the downtown, the east side. We're all over San Jose, and we're beautifying it in exchange for basic needs stipends, also case management support from this wonderful staff right here, Nadia, case manager. Chris, our employment specialist. Caitlin, our employment specialist. And of course, Maureen, who you all know. So who's here for the first time today? Nice. This is a packed room. Cool. Where'd you hear about us, sir?
And it was crap pay. That's what I said. But it was actually, I enjoyed getting up in the mornings and going in and actually doing that and feeling some type of worth as a human being and cleaning
So that returned you in some way, Dave?
Yeah, it returned me in some way to be structured. It gave me structure in my life, and then they decided to promote me to a green shirt. So it's just, wow, that's cool. All right.
So you started out as a yellow shirt.
I started out as a yellow shirt, so I was kind of like, I just sweat and did what I was supposed to do. And then all of a sudden I was promoted to green shirt, so I led a small crew.
And how long did it take you from when you started to become a green shirt?
I don't know, probably like 4 months, 5 months.
The first time I heard of Downtown Streets team was the truck that they have. They have two of them, and I just happened to see one of them drive by, and I heard of a couple of other people looking into the program, so I thought I'd stop by and see what it was about.
Well, my idea of a green shirt is I'm basically supervise the yellow shirts while the blue shirt tells me what to do, and I basically tell the yellow shirts what to do and make sure they're doing it properly so the blue shirt looks good.
Well, I am with the San Rafael team. Our team is a little bit larger than the Novato team. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous right now. But the makeup of the San Rafael team, we have 4 teams that are downtown. We have 2 truck teams. We have another blue shirt. We have 6 green shirts. And so that is the makeup of our team. And I am the operations manager, and I oversee all the teams.
At that time, were you still taking medication?
I was heavily medicated, yes. Yeah, it was hard for me to talk. I mean, I definitely didn't talk like this. I stuttered and I shook a lot. So I didn't have the, I don't know what to call it, but I didn't feel like I...
If I could go back, so you described the pay that you got, but in fact what you got were like gift cards or...
Yeah, I got gift cards.
There's no cash involved in that.
No cash involved at all.
So now you're a green shirt?
I was a green shirt for a few months, and then they decided to promote me to a blue shirt, which was, wow, cool, all right, I'll be a blue shirt. So I took charge of the whole crew with other blue shirts, which was challenging. I mean, it's like herding cats. So I mean, managing those guys are essentially like herding cats. It was the most challenging part of any type of leadership. If you can do that type of leadership, you can really do any leadership.
And while you were doing that, so let's go back to the yellow shirts. Where were you sleeping at night when you were a yellow shirt?
Oh, doorways.
Still
doorways. There's this parking lot over here that we slept in quite a bit.
What'd you do in the rainy season?
Well, during the rainy season, that was really the last year I slept outside. I slept the doorways, the store doorways. So that lasted for a while until the cops, kicked us out. And then after that...
How were they when they did that?
They just came out like it was horrible. It was like 3 a.m. They could have come up like earlier, like before we bedded, and then kicked us out. I mean, and it was pouring rain. I mean, it just made no sense to be that way. But I guess they didn't, I understand, like, they don't, want homeless around, but at the same time, I mean, it would have been nice if they would care a little, because I know they don't care. You know, that's a fact. I mean, I think it's a fact that they don't care about.
Did you ask them, like, where did they expect you to go? Or something?
Well, they just made smart remarks like, you know, not here. You know, I mean, the more we talked and engaged them, the more they got upset. So we just kept quiet, packed our stuff, and then walked off.
At what point did you transition out of sleeping in the doorways then? By the time you became a blue shirt, you were still sleeping?
I was a blue shirt for a while, probably 6 months, or maybe 4 months. You know, it was a few months. And I was still sleeping on doorways because I didn't, you know, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. I mean, what do? Get a job first and then look for a place, or look for a place and then get a job first, but then I don't have enough money to get a place. So it's kind of like that. Finally, last year, 2007, in January, February, I woke up. So I decided to...
But let's make that clear. You mean you woke up becoming more alert, not that you woke up in the morning?
No, yeah, I woke up becoming more alert of, you know, myself and where I'm at.
Was there a change in your medication?
Well, yeah, there was actually. I took less of it. Which
How, on your own or by advice?
On my own. You know, I was on lithium and a couple of antidepressants, and it was just messing me up. And you know, I don't even remember what happened to my clothes during that time. So, or my shoes. You know, it's like it's all gone. But then you have a 1-year tenure with Downtown Streets team. So I decided to take that 1 year, and I said, all right, so this is what I'm going to do. So, you know, I got with Karen and Jesse, and Logan helped me a little bit. And, you know, I just decided to start looking. I have a technical background, you know, I have a software development background, so I have a very, very nice background for being in Northern California. So Jesse helped me get a resume together. Karen helped me start looking for a place. She got me a rentals resume, which helped a little bit, you know. And then I started going to interviews. I specialize in security. So there's not too many people that do that. So I got a job really quick. I actually got offers.
Explain a little bit more about security.
I do what they call information security. Right now I'm an information security analyst. So you know how you get hacked and whatnot. So basically, you know, that's what I do. I keep that from happening. And at the same time, I'm also a software developer. You know, I'm a trained software developer. So getting a job wasn't that hard. I thought it was going to be hard because I'm older, but really it wasn't that hard. I mean, it was.
How old are you?
I'm in my 50s.
Wow.
So, yeah, a lot of people don't get that, but you know. But yeah, so I got a couple offers right away, and I took one in May of 2017 and worked there for like 30 days, and then took another one and worked there for about 6 months. And then I worked for Yelp for 6 months. And then I got recruited for a company in Seattle. It was Amazon. So I worked
What's the name of the company again?
Amazon. Amazon.com.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay. So they recruited me, and I took it. I took the job part-time for a while and said, all right, I'll work part-time.
Why did you make that decision?
Because I didn't know if I was ready to like really get back into it. I was making like really good money. I still live like I'm broke. So it's not like I spend a lot of money. I spend money like I am, you know, I live like I'm poor. So I don't spend any money. So I managed to save quite a bit of money during those 6 months. And I didn't know if I wanted to really do that because I still wanted to not work because I had that homelessness still inside me. Like, all right, I have all this money. I can just quit working for a few months, then get another job. But something deep down inside told me not to do that. Actually, I had some friends say, don't do that.
And where were these? These weren't your homeless friends?
No, they're not my homeless friends. They're, the people that I worked with, and, they kind of know what I've been through. And they said, you should take the job. I mean, it's a good offer. And I worked for Yelp part-time, and I worked for Amazon part-time. So, and finally in October of 2017, I went full-time with Amazon. And they were flying me back and forth, 3 days in Seattle, 2 days in San Francisco. And essentially, I didn't really need to have a place to live because I stayed at the corporate apartments. But finally, they talked me into relocating, and so come this month, I'm there permanently. But I'm still coming down to the Bay Area.
What a great story.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So what's next?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe just work and try to get a retirement thing going, because I don't want to work, for the next 20 years. I really want to help the homeless community, and I want to help the homeless community through education. There's a lot of online free data camps that they can learn. Google doesn't really require a 4-year college degree anymore. They just want someone with experience. So, I mean, I want to help that way, because I think education is the key. If you want to be homeless, you need to, you need to know something. I mean, it'd be nice to have like a homeless data camp where, you just teach homeless how to code. And it's possible to do that. And then they can get jobs and things like that. I mean, that's one way to get someone off the street. And to be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of nonprofits. I had my own business, so, I mean, I'm kind of like a closet financial conservative. I would prefer to give the tools that a homeless person would really want instead of always giving and giving. I mean, that's what I would prefer to do.
Well, Eileen Richardson's favorite expression is about downtown street scene. It's just, we give a hand up, not a hand out.
Yes.
So
That's a good thing. I mean, that's the best thing. It's like, if you're going to help the homeless, I mean, help them out of that cycle instead of just keeping on giving and giving and giving.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
This is a story that not only homeless people need to hear, but people who don't understand about homeless. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.